Well, I guess we aren't. All right, we're live. Welcome. Welcome to our show tonight. Last night, we actually spent time on.
Bill, you put the wrong date.
What?
It's the 13th today.
Oh.
You put the 11th. We can change that later. It's not important.
All right. I'll change it later after the broadcast. I got your show notes. And
we have some breaking news.
Go ahead.
Beto O'Rourke is running for president. He will officially announce Thursday. So, pretty happy about that.
I have some breaking news. Donald Duck is running too.
Oh, Bill.
He says he's going to run in 2020.
But I think that's good.
I think so too. By the way, folks.
I'm glad to see him out there.
By the way, folks, a lot of you accuse me of never giving the president credit when he does something good. Well, today he did something good. He actually said, I think the 737 Magnum 8 or Max 8, they should be grounded.
The 737 Max 8 and 9?
Yeah, he said they should be grounded. Of course,
Bill, as the United States of America, we were the last country to do it.
Let me finish. What I'm saying is, yes, he did the right thing by grounding them. It's just that after everybody else in the world grounded them and Canada grounded them, he said, oh, well, maybe I should too. But at least I'll give him credit for doing it. Otherwise, Southwest and American Airlines would still be flying the things, possibly putting people at risk, and everything else like that. So I give him credit for that. Now, the thing is that Haley, who used to be in the UN, is now on the Boeing board of directors. Boeing is making the new Air Force One plane. Okay? The rumor has it that it was originally designed to be a stretch 737 Magnum 8, but they've changed it now and decided that wasn't a good design. So anyhow, they're working on that. And of course, he has close ties with Boeing. So maybe that was why they took so long to finally say, let's ground the plane until we can find out what the problem is. Not sure. Okay.
The only country that had not declared a grounding of them, which is a real shame because for many, many, many years, the FAA sort of led the general consensus. Anytime these type of things happened, they were the first to declare things, to ground planes, and then the sort of global consensus followed them. We are now leading from behind. A hallmark of the Trump presidency.
That's true. In other words, the FAA would send out its team anywhere in the world and start investigating and helping other countries. This time we said to Ethiopia, you do it on your own and we'll tag along later when you figure out what's going on. And you're right. We used to be the leader. The world would look to us and say, okay, United States, is this really an emergency? What should we do? Now the world is saying, look, we don't care what you're going to do. This is what we think is right, which is a sad commentary for our leadership role. And it goes right back to the White House, because under Obama, he would have grounded those planes immediately and said, hey.
Well, this story goes even farther than that, though, Bill. Is because
how far does it go?
Boeing knew about these issues.
Oh, they always do.
Because of Trump's government shutdown, that delayed the fixes to the airplane involved in the multiple deadly crashes.
Now,
I think it said 5 to 6 weeks from the shutdown. So they're just getting to it now.
But the question is, do you know that as a fact, or is that just what you think? You're making a serious accusation there.
That is a fact.
Based on what? Where's your evidence?
It is being reported by multiple different people.
All right.
Let me see who originally reported it.
I mean, I'm trying to give the president a fair shake, although that's kind of hard sometimes because, he's like salt in a pepper shaker. If you've ever noticed, folks, grains of salt are larger than pepper. That's why the pepper mill has a smaller hole. So it's like, trying to put the president in a pepper shaker because his granules of truth are so large.
Yeah, it says fatal Ethiopian Airlines crash follows multiple warnings from U.S. pilots to Washington during shutdown of, quote, significantly reduced oversight.
Okay.
So this is a software issue. And because of the shutdown, it didn't get to the people it had to get to. I'm not blaming that fully. There's other issues at play, but that certainly played a role into the issue at hand.
Yes, it did.
So we have that. And then there is also, let me find the thing. Yeah, Ethiopia aims to send 737 MAX black boxes to Europe for analysts as opposed to the U.S. Of course, the U.S. doesn't always get the black boxes to do that, to see what happened, but they often do. It kind of follows the unusual decision of the FAA sort of being isolated and not grounding the MAX, that line of airplanes.
Well, I think if the FAA had worked ahead of time and been on the lead, we would have gotten the black boxes. But by the way, those black boxes have gone to Paris, France before because they have excellent facilities to get into the boxes and diagnose everything.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm not saying that, but it's just more and more situations where we're falling behind.
That's true. That's very, very true. I mean, it's sad, but we are becoming like sheep instead of like a shepherd, which we used to be. Okay, but then again, when you've got a dumbass shepherd, what do you expect? A guy that never made it to the Boy Scouts because he flunked the physical exam to be a Boy Scout. All right, what else we got in the news tonight from the desk of Devin?
Get your show notes out, Bill.
You're making me do the work. Hey, OTC, how are you tonight? Okay, let's get the show notes.
I'll do the bulletin points. Trump's decision to withdraw from Trans-Pacific Partnership could cost farmers $1.8 billion. Just another occasion where we were involved in the trade deal, which is the TPP, and Trump got elected, withdrew us from it, and now we are isolated. And that isolation will continue to hit a already impacted farmer base. We also have New Mexico Senate passes presidential popular vote bill. That is sort of to address the issues that we've had multiple times now in this country, that a presidential candidate will win the popular vote in states or as a whole, like Hillary Clinton did, but still lose the election. We're seeing a lot of states starting to address that issue, and I think it does need to be addressed, and I hope it is. We'll have to see where it goes from there. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp are dealing with outages. They have been down essentially all day. They are currently blaming it on a routing issue as opposed to a hack or a DDoS. I know from personal experience, it's still not up. It wants to load, but then it doesn't. So we'll have to see how long that takes to fix.
Okay. From the European Sea in England, the UK Parliament votes to rule out no deal Britex. In other words, it's saying, look, we're not sure we're going to get out of the UC or EU, okay, without a deal. Parliament on Tuesday voted for the second time to reject Prime Minister Theresa thank you, May's deal. The only proposal currently on the table. See, notice they keep putting it on her shoulders, but they don't offer anything in return. On Thursday, May plans to bring a vote on extended negotiations past the March 29th deadline. That will be a tough sell in Brussels, which is also worrying about a no-deal outcome, but only wants to give the UK an extension if given a clear path forward. In other words, what Brussels is saying is if you're actually going to break out and leave, then we're willing to give you an extension. But if you're going to continue this, we don't know, maybe not. No, we're not that curious. Now, Brussels got a counterpart, as you probably are aware of. Okay, broccoli. Many of you don't know that there's a country called broccoli. Okay, because you have Brussels sprouts and broccoli. Okay, moving along.
Bad, Bill.
Bad? Well, blame it on Conan and the other people who write my jokes. Okay, I pay them to write me good jokes, but sometimes they give me the leftovers, the stuff they throw on the floor that never gets on the air. They give it to me. So don't blame me, blame them. Thank you. Okay, New York prosecutors announced Manafort indictment minutes after federal. Now, there's an interesting thing. They said, okay, let's wait. Now, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Donald Trump is going to dangle the pardon thing and play that game. He's going to wait to see whether or not, how quickly Manafort goes to trial on the state charges. If he goes to trial on the state charges and gets convicted, then Donald will not give a pardon, claiming that it wouldn't matter and get him off the hot seat. Because right now, a lot of people are saying, look, if you give him a pardon, which is your right as president, but again, it comes back to the question of what is a presidential pardon? What is it designed for? It was designed to wrong an injustice where someone had been wrongly accused of, say, murder, new evidence comes out, he can't get a new trial. Finally, the president enters and says, as far as I'm concerned, he was falsely convicted, and therefore I'm going to pardon him and erase this entire issue. That's what it was designed for, not for taking someone who is a hardened criminal who deserves to spend 30 years in prison, regardless of his age, and then turn around and say, well, let's free him because he's my friend. That's not.
New York prosecutors Wednesday announced criminal charges against President Donald Trump's former campaign chief, Paul Manafort, only minutes after his sentencing in a federal case. The indictment unveiled by Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance charges Manafort with 16 counts related to mortgage fraud, conspiracy, and falsifying business records. Quote, no one is beyond the law in New York, Vance said in the statement. Manafort's alleged actions, quote, strike at the heart of New York's sovereign interests, including the integrity of our residential mortgage market, Vance added. Crucially, Trump does not have the pardon power for state charges.
And I think that's how they're going to get around all these things. There are going to be some state charges coming, and then the president is going to be left with, well, I can pardon him federally, but it ain't going to help him. He's still going to go to prison, which is
now,
yeah.
Since you brought up pardoning, we segue right into our next little story here.
You like the way I did that, folks? You like that, folks? I'm good at that.
Michael Cohen has emails showing Trump obstructed justice by dangling pardon. Michael Cohen has testified that the president...
No, that's false news. The president wouldn't dangle a pardon in front of anybody. He doesn't even know how to spell the word pardon.
Michael Cohen has testified that President Trump directed him to lie to Congress about Trump's business dealings with Russia during the campaign. The weakness of the accusation is that Cohen does not seem to have any proof other than his own testimony that the conversation took place. But now CNN reports that Cohn has evidence of Trump obstructing justice by dangling a pardon, and this time he has receipts. Robert Costello, an attorney working with Rudy Giuliani, emailed Cohn on April 21st. The emails assured Cohn he could, quote, sleep well tonight because he had, quote, friends in high places, according to CNN. This is a really, really big deal. The power to pardon convicted criminals for federal crimes is a legitimate use of presidential authority. Whether it's legitimate for the president to use this power to pardon criminals who committed crimes on his behalf or might have otherwise testified against him is a subject of intense debate.
Okay, OTC, do you eat before the show? Now, used to like to see you take food. You used to order in. Well, as a matter of fact, I had some chicken, which is sitting on the side, but I did eat a lot of it before. So,
OTC, we don't want to see Bill eating on the webcam, the stream.
Whatever makes you people happy.
Senate votes to end U.S. military support for Saudi-led war in Yemen. The Senate voted on Wednesday, 54-46, to end U.S. support for the Saudi-led war in Yemen, likely setting up the first veto of President Trump's presidency. Why it matters. The bill is a rebuke of Trump's foreign policy amid broader pushback over his defense of Saudi Arabia, whose role in the conflict has been under heightened scrutiny since the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The war waged by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has resulted in the world's worst humanitarian crisis, with an estimated 80% of the population in need of some sort of aid or protection.
Okay, it's true. But the question is whether or not that will be his first veto or whether the Senate will pass the resolution saying that his national emergency is phony and whether that'll be his first veto. So it'll be interesting to see which one becomes his first veto. OTC, you asked an interesting question. How did the broadcast go on YouNow? Very well. We did well. And everything else like that. We spent about an hour. Our goal right now, our schedule at this point, is going to be on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on YouTube from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, depending on how busy we get. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays and maybe Saturdays, YouTube, YouNow, and broadcast for a minimum of 2 hours there. So that's what the game plan is. We'll try it for about a month. We'll see if it works. And we'll see what happens. Now, there's several issues that we have to deal with YouNow. One is taking anybody that was previously blocked. You used to be able to do a mass unblock. We can't seem to get that done. So some of those people that were pained in the where will be allowed back on, and we'll see what happens. But right now we can't get them unblocked. Number two, YouTube is supposed to be simulcast so that I would be able to broadcast like tonight on YouTube and it would appear on YouNow. And then vice versa on the YouNow broadcast, I would be able to simulcast it on YouTube. We don't know when that's going to get functional and working. So we'll have to see what happens there. Okay. We don't know. Okay. Prefer YouTube. Okay. Well, YouTube, as I said before, I like it because it has a more sensible group of people. And you don't get crazy. I mean, you can actually have a good dialogue.
The problem, OTC, is Bill needs to promote this, which he's not doing. Of course, we appreciate you and such, and anybody that might watch later. He hasn't grown at all in the year and a half we've been doing this. So at the very least, YouNow, the way it's structured, allows him to take what he already has, which is almost 5,000 fans. And of course, many of those people aren't there anymore, but some of them are. But is what I'm trying to get him to do, if he would listen, is to go on there frequently for a little bit over the next couple of weeks to advertise, hey guys, I'm doing this over on YouTube. If you want to watch my stream, if you want to check out old streams, that's basically where I am now to start advertising. Twitch is a possibility, but Bill's going to need a different computer if he wants to go on Twitch. That's the reality. It's difficult to be found on Twitch comparative to YouNow, because YouNow sort of has a block of webcams, people who are streaming, that you could sort of click through. Where Twitch has that, but it's kind of buried. So if you only get a few viewers, you're really at the bottom of a whole bunch of streams, and it's really hard to grow. But I do like Twitch. It's probably my favorite streaming site. But like you said, it's nice with YouTube because it's kind of saving these. So if people are interested in, going back like you or whatever to watch them, that's nice. But Bill really needs to start promoting it.
Well, it looks like you got yourself another job, Dev.
I'm not doing that, Bill.
We're going to make you communications director.
You can't afford me, Bill.
We can't afford not to have you. So don't worry. We're giving you $10,000 a week. Okay.
Show notes is where I'm limited.
Yeah, well,
which is very nice of me to do that for you, Bill.
It's $10,000.
But no, I'm serious. You go on. You don't have to do it a lot, but you go on YouNow. You kind of say, hey, I'm on here. We could talk about whatever. If you want to talk about politics or maybe some pop culture stuff or whatever. But I am on YouTube now under TalkingHead, and which I think we might change your name to make it easier to find. I think we might do like TalkingHead Live or something like that. Because if you just type in TalkingHead in YouTube, you're very difficult to find because of the band.
Right.
So that might be something we look into.
All right.
We could talk about later.
But that's
just go on YouNow and promote yourself.
That's you're referring to YouTube, right? Changing the title, not YouNow.
Correct.
All right.
Correct. Leaving YouNow as it is, because it is easy to find. It's younow.com/talkinghead. But on YouTube, if you type in TalkingHead, you really only find the band.
Yes, I know.
So we gotta kind of think about
a link.
Expanding something or figuring out some other way of putting you out there. But we'll figure it out.
All right. Well, you're absolutely right about all those things, as always. It just means more work for me. And, with my schedule and how busy I am, it's difficult. I mean, I've got, lots of things to do tomorrow. And it's just, you don't realize the task burden that you put on me. Okay? You think I'm the president.
Mr. Retired over here.
You think I'm the president of the United States, where I can sit on my ass all day and play games in my executive suite.
That's what you're doing.
I'm sorry. I'm up at 6 a.m. working.
All you just gotta do is, like I've been telling you, is go on some of the more popular YouTube channels. Like I know CNN has one, and there's a lot of different politic ones, and just comment on some of the videos, and maybe people will click through and look at your page. And obviously now you have YouNow back, you could advertise there. So it's possible. It's hard sometimes. But you lucked out with YouNow is because before, until they redesigned it, which I hate the redesign, is when you were under a tag, like you would go under guys,
Yeah.
Well, when you click on your or anybody's broadcast, below that would be a huge list of every person under the tag guys.
Right.
And a lot of people would see the screen cap and click through to watch your stream or watch somebody else's stream, and they would fan that person, which allowed you or anybody to quickly gain followers and fans.
Right.
Which was really nice. But then the redesign has kind of killed that, unfortunately. But it's still, in my opinion, easier to grow for now on YouNow than it would be like if you're going to Twitch.
True.
But yeah.
Very, very true. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find $5 coins on the floor here. So that's why we're looking down here. We're looking for my $5 coins from the 1800s when they issued $5 gold pieces.
Nice.
And
that's what we need.
Well, that's what I need. I mean,
money.
I mean, the president's going to take away my Medicare and my Medicaid and my Social Security and, say, oh, I'm sorry, I lied. I never said I wasn't going to do that. I said I was. You just didn't understand me right. When I said,
yep.
I'm not going to touch
the
this.
Truth, though?
I'm never going to touch this.
Anytime he's called out, it's either, oh, that's fake news, or it was on us, or the media's that got it wrong.
Yeah, everybody gets everything wrong with Donald, except Donald, who gets it everything wrong to begin with. That's why it's always wrong when the news media gets it, because its source was wrong, which was him. So we'll see what happens. I mean, we're experimenting. We'll see what kind of a following we have. I mean, Dan says he's going to work on getting partners, so we'll see what happens there. Maybe if I start making some money on the thing, like I hear other people are doing that are doing a lot less and have a more stupid show than I have, maybe I'll get a little more interested.
Gotta grind, Bill. Gotta put the hours in.
Well, we used to put in almost 40 hours a week. You know that.
Yeah, and grew. Look how many people you got on YouNow from doing that.
Yeah. And look how I got dumped too.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to blame for that.
Well, that's true. And I did talk to him, and he did acknowledge. Yeah.
Trying to find this anime. How you been health-wise, Bill? You been good?
Actually, yes. Today I decided not to take the blood pressure pill, and I felt better. What it was doing is that there was a certain amount of, maybe because of inactivity, low blood pressure. Now you're taking a low blood pressure, a pill to reduce your blood pressure, which is actually making your blood pressure lower than it already is, which is creating another problem. So by not taking the blood pressure pill today, maybe my blood pressure is back up to its normal level. So we'll see tomorrow.
Do you have a blood pressure cuff at home?
Well, yeah, but I have the nurse and they come 3 times a week, so they take all the vitals and everything else like that. So I pretty well know what the blood pressure has been, and I think that's what I'm going to experiment with. See what kind of a reading we get tomorrow.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I've got my same cheerful, happy, wonderful, congenial, non-aggressive, non-combative attitude toward life. That was a joke. I'm gonna make up little signs. Applause. joke, humor.
I did say though, you need to get a nice little whiteboard for behind you that with some those markers for whiteboards, and nice and big, write out your schedule. So you would have YouTube on one side and then on the other, and then you'd put a line in the middle, and then you'd put Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday. If you don't want to include Saturday, that's fine. And then the times. So that way behind you, people would see it.
Yeah, or we could do this. You could superimpose it with your magical artwork on the lovely ceiling that I have above my head that you keep saying is wasted space. You could put it right up there. Okay? And you can use your talents.
Get a whiteboard.
I
might look at a whiteboard. Maybe I get you a whiteboard in.
Okay.
Figure out if I could ship something like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, they're pretty inexpensive.
You know what? We could actually get a whiteboard and put it on the table where the lamp is there, and then it's laid against the lamp, so that
what I'm thinking of is what you want to see, because I see other people doing it. Like I look on especially, but I've seen YouTubers do it too. Is like ideally you would have drawn the logo for like YouTube and so it would look really nice and clean. So I'm just trying to think the best way to go about doing that, because the whiteboards themselves and the markers aren't that expensive.
Right.
You could get a that seems pretty big. I don't even think you would need that, but like a 36 by 24 one for $30.
Sounds like a plan.
And you just get some markers and.
Very, very true. Or we could do mini cam. Use the mini cam and that.
Yeah, but again, we get back into the issue of, you said you got a new laptop, but I'm not sure what you're doing with that. But your current computer struggles with Minicam and streaming. So I don't know if your laptop was better or what the situation is.
Well, the laptop is much faster. Yeah. One of these nights we're going to have to try to broadcast from the laptop to see what we do. We might just do the show from the laptop some night and see how it works.
All right. Sounds good.
Let me see what else has been happening. Jared and Ivanka, they're behind in the news again. We've noticed the White House has shuffled that one. So they're no longer a controversial issue. Huh.
Kids around the world plan to skip school this Friday to demand action on climate change. Young people around the world are not interested in excuses when it comes to dealing with climate change. Every year their lives have been one of the warmest recorded. Extreme weather events including floods, wildfires, and heat. That's why on March 15th, tens of thousands of students worldwide will be cutting classes and taking to the streets to demand the elected officials are, I think I miscopied this one. Well, essentially is they want elected officials to start addressing climate change. And globally, students around the world will be cutting class on March 15th, which is this Friday.
No, I don't think March 15th is Friday.
It is Friday.
Oh, then my doctor.
Today's the 13th, and tomorrow's the 14th, and Friday's the 15th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's Friday.
Yes, that's Tuesday. Dan was over there.
Yeah, it's the 15th that I have my medical appointment.
They were bickering back and forth. Did he ever shut your window, Bill?
Yeah, he did eventually. He figured it out.
That's because you were smoking up a storm.
Blame me, Always blaming me. I'm just a peaceful, loving guy. But, okay, so basically a non-controversial day. Not too much went on. But we are seeing more.
True.
We're seeing more Republicans that are maybe looking over at the Democrats, at least to get that resolution passed. There's 13 or 12 or 13 deflections right now. And then there's also buy your way to college scam going. God, talk about what parents will do to get their kids in college. Ugh. But I guess, if you have 25 or 30 million dollars and, someone tells you I can get your kid into Harvard or Yale for $1 million, you figure, hey, that's 10%. That's a worthwhile investment.
Yeah, I've been reading about that, about the rich parents that essentially scammed the system.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Okay, so some of those schools I can understand, like Yale, Stanford, etc. There's like premium, nice schools. But on that list are schools like Wake Forest and like a school in Texas and a couple of different like smaller schools. And I'm like, if you have to pay tens of thousands of dollars just to bribe them to enter, like to get your child into one of those schools, it's like your child must be super mediocre. It's like, why don't they instead just go on and work for one of your businesses?
Yeah, but
quit wasting everybody's time.
Well, here's the question. Let's say that you happen to be in an elite group of people near Lake Forest, okay? And your associates' sons and daughters go to Lake Forest. It's just like, I've got to belong to that country club. Not because I want to play golf, but my friends all belong to the country club. And if I don't get into that country club, it's going to reflect badly on me. So a lot of times a kid is basically being told, okay, you want UCLA or you want Wake Forest, or you want Harvard or Yale, because some relative or friend is going there. And it's like, well, if they can go, my son can go. And it becomes an ego thing among the parents. The kid is like, I don't care. Okay, I don't care whether it's Harvard, Yale, Princeton. I don't care whether it's a state university.
Yeah, okay, so OTC. Those are people who clip things, which means somebody captured a moment. Now, if Bill were ever to get to the level of getting a subscriber button, it actually does save your show. If you're a subscriber, you could go back and watch the whole show. Otherwise, you're limited to just people capturing moments. I don't really know why it goes that far back, but I guess it does.
Well, that's when I started. Actually,
you think those would be deleted though, like over time?
I don't think they delete anything.
They do, but
they kept my account for two years and almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So with all the numbers and all the people. So I don't know. We'll let you discover that. We'll let you investigate that. We'll put you in charge of the special committee. You now.
I want to get. We'll talk off stream now. I want to do some things.
All right. That's fine. What else is there important? OTC, what's happening in your life?
I don't see any OTC. I don't quite know what.
Well, I see him. It says OTC. Deb.
No, I don't mean him. I mean his moments. Your moments on
I don't know.
It broke it.
Well, what I mean is they keep changing their format so much that they make improvements, but the problem that I find with them is they don't warn you. You've got to admit that on Discord.
Well, no, they did say that this redesign. I mean, they didn't specify exactly what it would look like, but they did say it was coming as far as like the multiple guests and some of the other things they added. But I agree with Dan was saying last night that there's a lot of things here that they don't really make it super easy to do things. Like, for example, mass unblocking people. There should be a thing in settings that has a list of every single account you've blocked.
Right.
It gives you the choice to unblock them.
Or a list of the people that are blocked, and then you can go just like on Facebook,
but
accept or reject.
Right now, that it isn't like that. You have to go page by page by page to unblock these people.
How am I going to remember them?
Exactly. And because they can't, as it is now, you now won't even let you look at the channel. It used to, even if you were blocked, you used to be able to watch the streamer, you just couldn't comment, but they've changed that.
Right. Because
so now that person can't even come in at all.
Right. Because then
it's like, how do you even get to them? How do you even remember? So but I doubt you have more than 100 people blocked, Bill.
I don't think I was more than 100. Okay. I mean,
so I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No, that's true. But anyhow, we're coming along, singing a song, coming along. Da, 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 da. I mean, you guys will know I'm a success when I'm sitting on a cruise ship and I'm broadcasting from there and I'm going, and tonight on YouTube. And you're going, let's see, we're on our way to Cancun. And you're going to go, how could you afford that, Bill? Oh, hey. And then you find the 7 servants I have standing around me, all waiting for a message from me. Hey, handle this, take care of that, take care of that, take care of that, take care of that, take care of that. And then Deb is looking at the camera going, hi, I'm Deb. OTC is going, hi, I'm OTC. Oh, yes. That'll be the great days. And maybe one night we'll get Trump on Skype. Well, I never said that. Oh, I've got the tape. No, you don't. No, that's fake news. I never said that. In fact, I was never on Skype with you, Bill. I don't even know you. Of course, I wrote 35 Twitters about you, but I don't know you, Bill.
Bill's dream come true.
Well, I wouldn't mind it if he got pissed off at me. That would be cool. I'd love to go head to head with him because I'd tell him. Of course, he would probably be mean. The next thing I'd know is I'd have, the Secret Service personally monitoring my broadcasts every night to make sure I didn't say anything offensive, and all of a sudden you'd see signal blocked, signal dropped because I was going to say something about the dumbass president. Oh, we don't like that.
OTC wants to know how the neighbor is.
Oh, he stopped by last night. In fact, he stopped by 5 minutes before the broadcast saying, oh, listen, you want me to come in and talk for a while? I said, no, I'm getting ready to broadcast. Oh, okay.
Tonight, or was this yesterday?
This was tonight.
Oh, okay.
But last night he came over while I was waiting for Dan. Dan said he'd be here at 7. He got here at 9. So he spent a little more time. But he also got me some chicken, from a great little restaurant. Great place. So I was eating that earlier. And everything else like that. I'm still waiting to hire my female attendant, my nurse, so that I can sit here and she can feed me grapes, and I can just sit there while she goes, and feed me another grape. And I have to get my royal robes and my crown. In fact, I told Dan when he went to Burger King the other night, by the way, that great fish sandwich, better than Arby's. They have a great fish sandwich. But anyhow, I want to get one of those crowns. Okay, those Burger King crowns. And then I'll get a robe that I'll put around me. You know, and then I'll have my little scepter, my cane. You know. Of course, Dib is going, and where is that going to lead to, Bill? Okay. Then you'll be able to enter the royal kingdom. Cleveland this year. Oh, okay. The All-Star game is being played in Cleveland this year. Very good. That'll bring a red, a feather to our cap. Now that's going to be the Cleveland Indians against what? Notice this was my Puerto Rican shot from one of my trips to Puerto Rico. This is known as in radio, folks, as dead air. We're waiting for Deb to find something to talk about.
I'm updating your UNAV bio.
Oh,
you can copy and paste because it's all outdated.
Yeah, it does. I don't even think we should put the age in there anymore.
No, I think that's fine. I think it's good for that.
All right.
But what you see, as we talked earlier, it wouldn't matter because the state of New York has brought up charges which he can't pardon. And those carry up to, I believe they were saying, if convicted of all of them, up to 25 years in prison, which is obviously more than the 7.5 I think he got sentenced to total. He may, but I doubt it.
The whole thing that amazes me is that you still have people that solidly think the president is doing a great job when so many people surrounding him are now being charged and convicted and sentenced. If you were a kid, I can remember as a kid, if you had a friend, and I remember one, he had kind of a foul mouth. Every now and then the F word would slip or the S word would slip. And one time my mother said to me, Bill, I don't want him in the house anymore. If you want to talk to him at school, that's fine. But I don't want you associating with him outside of school. I can't do anything about him at school, but I can outside of school. His language is terrible. And I don't want you to hang around with that kind of a person. And I was very, what right do you have to decide who my friends are? And I'm probably about 12. Well, it turns out that by the time he reached 14, he was in juvenile delinquency court and he was in juvenile detention and then eventually ended up in prison. So they were right. He was a bad influence. People, there's an old saying, you're known by the company you keep. If you sit around with a bunch of alcoholics, guess what? There's a good chance you're an alcoholic. Because if you weren't, why would you be sitting around a bunch of alcoholics? Why? It wouldn't make any sense. Donald Trump likes people that he thinks are weaker than he is, that he can control. But he's so desperate for friends. He's so desperate for people to kiss his ring, as well as other parts of his anatomy. But for the most part, he wants this absolute loyalty. You'll do what I tell you to do. Otherwise, I don't want you in my administration. Pretty soon, he reminds me of a baseball team or a football team that is so poor that when it loses its first string, it goes to the second string. Finally, it's in the third string because it doesn't have any money to buy new players. I mean, Donald's got more acting secretaries of something than he has secretaries because he can't get anybody that wants to be in his administration. They don't
do you
want
remember do you remember when we talked about Jacob Wall?
Mm-hmm.
That grifter, the Trump supporting grifter who constantly was commenting under Donald Trump's tweets and has been going around making claims and stuff and was banned off Twitter. Well, he's back in the news. Jacob Wall faked death threats against himself. Right-wing personality Jacob Wall appears to have faked death threats against himself and submitted them to police as evidence that he was, quote, facing terroristic threats. The issue here is the account that sent these threats were accounts that he had created, and it came out earlier that these were his accounts. So essentially, he's filing false police reports. He's going to get himself in some serious trouble. And it couldn't happen to a better or worse person. I don't know which way to go with that. But, honestly, he totally deserves it.
Well, this is the kinds of people that seem to be attracted. And that should worry us to Donald. These are the kinds of people that admire Donald. And it's like, why? Why are you attracted to this pollutant? Okay, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But yet these people are attracted to him. Now what's happening is more and more people are saying, "Wait a minute! It no longer is an honor to serve in the White House because I don't think I can afford the lawyers that I'll need to hire to get me out of trouble once I join the White House." It used to be an honor. I mean, the president would call you up and say, "We'd like you to serve on a committee called the Let's Look at Rivers in Colorado." And you'd go, I'm honored, Mr. President. I'd love to serve on a committee. Of course, I live in Ohio. I don't know anything. I don't even know what rivers are in Colorado. But the fact that you wanted me to serve on this committee is an honor. Today, it would be like, why? Why do I want to be on a committee in Colorado? I don't know anything about the rivers in Colorado. There's the difference. And we've never had a situation in the past outside of Nixon toward the end of his presidency where nobody would serve with him. Nobody wanted to be part of his administration. And that's sad when people are avoiding, serving. I mean, that's sad. But when they see what Donald has done to people and what problems they've gotten into and who he's brought himself around, you have to say to yourself, how can I risk this? These are bad people. Okay. That's like, a momster calling you up and saying, "Why don't you come over for dinner?" Like the late Al Green calling me up and saying, "Hey, Bill, why don't you come down to Youngstown for dinner?" Of course, nobody remembers, but Al Green was a notorious mobster. Okay.
Oh, I remember.
And Al Green, by the way, never invited me. Okay. But the whole point of the matter is you would say to yourself, no way.
I feel like I don't remember, but I remember a story growing up about somebody who, I don't know if it was him. It was one of them, because this town used to be a huge mobster town. And I remember hearing a story like way back when that they got the wrong person, or they got the wrong car at least, had planted a bomb in a vehicle that exploded and almost killed the wrong person. And stuff like that always happened down here. Youngstown used to not only had the steel industry, But, it used to be a really bustling town because it was between Pittsburgh and Cleveland and to a greater extent, New York and Chicago.
Yeah. It was a hideout town.
Yeah.
You could actually go there and disappear.
We also had, which I've asked you before and you never went, but it kind of makes sense because it wasn't that big. But we had Idora Park, which was essentially a small theme park with roller coasters, carousels, stuff like that. That was pretty well known. People would come from all over to go to it. But yeah, you're exactly right. It was a much smaller town comparatively, so it was like a hideout. You could kind of get away from some of the police and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But those days have long since come and gone. Now with GM closing, they estimate that over the years, GM idling itself will cost the local economy roughly about $3 billion.
Yeah.
After the steel mills left, it decimated this area, and GM was kind of the only thing that was somewhat keeping it afloat. Now with GM gone, I mean, there was just a story today in the local news of a gentleman who was laid off, or I guess laid off is the word, from GM that shot himself. The sheriffs were coming to give him his eviction notice, and they heard a gunshot, and the SWAT team came and everything, and it took them a few hours, but they finally went in and they found him dead. Probably won't be the last we hear about that.
No.
This town's going to be really, and it's not just this town, it's towns all over America. It's going to be really hit hard by the continued erosion of these sort of manufacturing jobs.
Well, what happened to all these jobs that Donald was going to bring to America? Remember that?
Well, there are jobs. I mean, we can't deny it. The unemployment rate is low, as it has almost ever been. Wages are going up slowly but surely. But the problem is, a lot of the jobs are
high tech.
Like there's that, but there's also like a lot of the jobs that people do now, like in states like Ohio and PA, Michigan, and stuff like that, are mechanical jobs and line jobs that are either A, have died out completely and have gone elsewhere to other countries and or just have been replaced completely, or B, within the next 10 to 15 years will find the same fate. The problem is, you have this mentality amongst people that are like 45 to say 75, that they learned a certain way, a certain path, a certain skill set that they are still trying to apply to a workforce that is having to quickly modernize itself. That's not to say that all these jobs will be gone. They won't. But a vast majority of them will be. It's kind of like the trucker. In 20 years, most of the trucks on the road are going to be self-driving trucks. What are all these truckers going to do for jobs? You're only going to need so many mechanics. So instead of focused on that and saying, okay, well, let's make things like, further education, and making sure that families are taken care of with healthcare and stuff, we're doing nothing.
Well, I can remember a friend of mine. Okay, he was a master die maker. His job would to be make dies for the auto industry. And for years, they would know 2 years in advance or 3 years in advance what the new cars were going to be, because that's how long it would take to make the dies. Okay, that was their father's business. And they let it grow.
I think we lost you on YouTube.
Am I still there? Can you hear me?
No, you're here on Discord, but you're not there on YouTube. It cut out completely.
Well, I'm still broadcasting. As far as I know.
Oh, there you come. You came through. But it is cutting out. So after you're done discussing, we'll wrap it up.
All right. So what I was going to say is that, like the Ford family, They knew that Henry Ford was going to eventually die. I mean, he had to. But how to keep the Ford business going? And so each generation added more and more and made it more productive. Okay. And it wasn't because they didn't have the resources, they knew what to do with their resources. And in today's world, it's not that the United States doesn't have the money. It's just that what we do with it, we waste it. We put it on things. The military says, look, we need 650 million or $650 billion. That's what we need. President says, no, you need 775 billion. So what are they going to do? No, Mr. President, don't give us the money. They'll take the money. And then we'll wonder why 5 years later, they've got these secret programs, because they had to figure out what to do with this money before they would lose it. The other thing is this. Look at industry today. Are you rewarded with a company that comes under budget? If, for instance, you've got a budget in your department of, say, $500,000, and because you people are frugal, intelligent, and you've learned different techniques that can streamline and save costs and everything else like that, you end up the year with $40,000 still in your account. Does the corporate headquarters say, great, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you a bonus. We're going to distribute $5,000 of that $40,000 savings. And next year, we're going to appropriate another $35,000. Okay. In other words, we're going to reduce your budget by $35,000 because we're going to take the 35 that you saved this year and we're going to put it in next year's budget. No. It says, look, spend it or lose it. So you turn around and you buy 3 more presses that you really don't need. You don't have the production to justify it. But if you don't, you're going to lose it. Mm-hmm. And so you spend this money needlessly. And then 20 years later, the company runs into hard times. What's it going to do? Sell those printers that were never used? Or, I mean, I used to see that at General Electric. When computers went from mainframes to personal computers, and now each department had their own computer system. Okay, then when they updated them, they put them in a big warehouse. I mean, these were perfectly good computers, and they were just storing them. 18-inch monitors, 24-inch monitors that cost $500 a piece. I asked him one time, I said, what are you going to do with these things? They're just going to sit in the warehouse, Bill. I said, can I make a bid? He said, sure. Just make it over $1. So as a joke, I put a list together of things that I wanted. $1, $1, $1, $1, $1, $1, $1. 3 weeks later, I get a call from my boss. Approved. In other words, I bought several monitors and other equipment for $1. Now you say to yourself, well, why would they sell it for $1 if they spent $500? Well, because number one, under the law, they already wrote it off. So they got the tax write-off. But number two, it would cost them more to store it than not to store it. So if they didn't have it as inventory, they wouldn't have to keep track of it. So it would be cheaper for them to just get rid of it. But you can't find a landfill where you can just call them up and say, hey, let's dump 25,000 computer monitors. Okay. And so as a result, they had this stuff stored. I mean, they had printers, what we would call dot matrix printers, which we still have today. But these were big, 14, the kind that you would use for printouts, Deb, in your work. Okay. Only you do yours in color to make signs and things like that. Okay. Yeah. But these were those huge things that did payroll. Yeah, did payroll and everything else like that. But they were attached to mainframes. So when the mainframes were replaced, The printers were not compatible anymore. And nobody wanted to buy a mainframe because of the cost of keeping it running. I mean, they used to have rooms that had to stay at 70 degrees. I mean, it was just, mammoth. And these computers were dumber than your cell phone is today. So I think that what we have to do, what you need are some really bright college graduates with PhDs in accounting who need to go through the federal budget and say, okay, what our job is mandated by Congress is to go through this federal budget and streamline it. I remember one time I was in the hospital and I just thought for curiosity, I wanted to see the hospital bill. Do you know that they were charging $25 for an aspirin? That's right. It's on the bill. $25 to give me an aspirin. I could buy 100 tablets of Bayer aspirin, the same dosage, for $4.95 at CVS.
Yeah. You go down to the street corner and get it for much cheaper.
Right. But the whole point
they do that across the board, though, Bill.
Right.
For everything. As we've discussed before, I mean, they find out you have good insurance and they suddenly have this attitude of, oh, wait a minute. No, he needs all these other things, run these tests, these scans, this blood work, and they just like to rack it up.
Right.
Because, they'll get it from you, whereas if somebody comes in without insurance, perhaps that they won't have, sort of the same, they're not going to get that same attitude of, oh, well, this person needs this test and that test, because they don't think they're ever going to get that money.
Well, or they go into ER where they have to give them the test. Now, the question is, yes. Who's going to pay for it? It's going to be paid for by the profits that they're making from the insurance companies that are covering people like me. And there was a hospital in Cleveland, St. Vincent's Charity Hospital. It was run by the Sisters of Charity. And it was called Charity Hospital because it didn't matter. If you didn't have the money, they still took care of you. If you went into the emergency room ill, you were put in a bed and given tests and everything else like that. And if you didn't have the money, the hospital absorbed it. Well, eventually, Charity Hospital couldn't support itself anymore because it couldn't continue to give out this free aid. And it didn't get state funding and federal funding until years later. That's the only way it stayed in business. But after a while, it became known as send them over to Charity Hospital. Now, we also had in Cleveland, Metro General. Metro General was the city hospital. If the guy didn't have insurance or whatever, you sent him to Metro. And it was paid for by the city. So they picked up the losses. Eventually, but it was a dump because they didn't spend any money making the place better because all the money was being spent to take care of the indigent who were being shipped there. Ambulances would come in, maybe 20 in a night. Okay? Not because they were the closest hospital, but because basically, they didn't know whether the guy had insurance or not. So this was tragic. And our whole medical system is not that they don't have the money. They're just not appropriate. And I see it all the time. Example, I'll share one with you right now. It's weird. Okay. Oh, that's something else. Okay. That's something else.
Well, I think that's a good place to end it.
With me reading documents and looking important, I think that's a good idea. Okay, listen, folks. Tomorrow night, pass the word. We're going to be on YouNow. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. We'll run probably to 8 to 10. We'll see how vibrant our group is. I might even eat chicken that night for all the little kids on the program that watch. We'll have Chicken Little. But anyhow, I thank you for being here. And as I said before, we'll continue I'm sure that the weekend, something will happen between now and Friday. I have a doctor's appointment Friday, so we'll see what they have to say and everything else like that. But until then, as I said, always peace to everybody. Thank you for being here. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow night on You Now. So have a good one. Take care.
Peace.
Peace. Goodbye. Good night, OTC.